All right, let's talk USC Trojans here for a little bit. And look, we've spent a lot of time this offseason talking about all the moves USC has made in terms of additions to the coaching staff, additions to the roster, strategic changes in order to help USC's defense, which is obviously the big glaring weakness from USC the past couple of years. But there's another thing sticking out that USC still has to resolve and improve on, and that, of course, the quarterback position replacing Caleb Williams. We've got an exciting update on that, especially involving the likely next quarterback one for USC, Miller Moss. Let's get into this report and we'll talk about it more in detail on the other side. This is courtesy of 24/7 Sports. For the first time in his USC career, Miller Moss has a full-time assistant coach dedicated to his position group. But now there's a quarterback-specific assistant in Luke Hurd, who has moved over to the QBs this offseason after spending the previous 2 seasons with USC's inside receivers. Moss clearly has a lot of respect for Horde, and the feeling is mutual. Miller is an extremely intelligent quarterback, and the thing with Miller, too, the entire time that he's been at USC, and I've witnessed this, Miller pours into his teammates. Horde said he's got really, really good leadership skills. This thing is extremely important to him. He cares a lot about this football team. He's very selfless. I've seen a lot of the same characteristics that he had before now, and that he's obviously in a little bit of a different role coming off a tremendous performance in the bowl game. Nothing has changed for him. He's approached this thing right from the day that we got here, and he's just continued to grow now in his new role. He's done a great job. All right, so I think the big takeaway there, aside from me mispronouncing Coach Luke Hord's name a number of times there, is that Miller Moss is building off of his performance and getting all the little things right. I think this is a great sign for USC. Miles, I know you've got a few thoughts on this, but first, Trojan fans in the comment section below. This is kind of an interesting question for you guys to answer. Give me your expected win total, regular season only for USC for 2024. Interesting matchup. Obviously, a lot of new games to go through, new schedule to grind it out. So I want to hear what you guys think. How many wins will USC get in 2024? And put it in the comment section below. But Mice, give me your thoughts on this report and everything going on with Miller Moss and USC right now.
Yeah, Nick, at the beginning of the offseason, I think coming in, there was like maybe a little bit of a question about quarterback battle. Who's going to get it? Is it going to be Mayava? Is it going to be Moss? But I think now all signs are definitively pointing towards Miller Moss being that starting guy. And I think the leadership thing is a big aspect. And there's two parts to this. He has the talent. We saw it in the bowl game. He's a very talented quarterback, but his leadership is really something that stands out. And one thing I see is the way that Coach Horde compares him and Mayava together, and he talks about Mayava saying that he just kind of envies what Moss has. He idolizes him, wants to be like him, is starting to grow and move and do things the way that Miller Moss is doing him. So a young quarterback that transfers in, who wants the starting spot, who's now in line behind Miller Moss, trying to emulate what he does. I think that's a very strong testament to his leadership ability, getting guys to be like, all right, I want to be the next guy. But Moss, he has that strong leadership presence. He portrays himself as the guy already. I'm going to have to learn from him and then wait for my turn. Already, it seems like Mayava's doing that. But the other thing is, I think as much as we talk about Caleb Williams when he left Southern Cal, he was extremely talented. He was probably one of the most talented quarterbacks we've seen in a long time on the college football field. But I don't think he was even then as good of a leader as Miller Moss, because Coach Horde goes on to talk about how last season in the locker room, even with Caleb Williams, all you saw and heard was the leadership from Moss. He would take guys under his wing like Jacoby Lane and Deuce Robinson and really took them, watched extra films with them, like he said, poured into his teammates, built that chemistry up, and goes on to show in the Holiday Bowl they had a really explosive combination there. I think there's a ways to go as far as things can through all of these spring, summer, and fall practices and camps, but it's showing that Miller Moss, I think he's going to be a great leader and a great player for this team. And I think we're going to see something special out of Southern Cal. Caleb Williams is a good singular player. I think Miller Moss is the kind of guy that can tie together a whole team.
Well, it's important to understand, and I think from Miller Moss's perspective, and I think the coaching staff has likely drilled this into his head too, is talking to Miller Moss, and you say, dude, don't try and be Caleb Williams. There's very few human beings on this planet that have the athletic skill set that Caleb Williams had and demonstrated at USC. And one of the concerns that can have when you have a program, when you have a guy like Williams who can just do absolutely ridiculous things, throwing off platform, scrambling around, incredible athlete, make every throw in the book, plus some that aren't even in the book. Sometimes other quarterbacks on your roster see that and they just naturally try and emulate it because these are obviously talented guys too, scholarship guys too, but they're not at the same level at Caleb Williams. Nothing wrong with that. Williams is a special talent. I love the fact that what we're hearing from Miller Moss is that he is stylistically approaching the game much differently, focusing on intangibles, talking about building those relationships. And those things really matter: chemistry, timing, reading the defense, hitting the check down, all that kind of silly stuff that doesn't make the highlight reel. I think that will be Miller Moss's strength as he gets going in this USC offense. And I really love the fact that that's what the coaching staff is highlighting, those intangibles. Because as physically talented as Miller Moss is, and I think he's got a lot of great attributes, he's nowhere remotely close to Caleb Williams. And the one thing that I'd be really concerned about is if the coaching staff, we talked about Miller Moss emulating Caleb Williams, as if the coaching staff tried to get Miller Moss to play like Caleb Williams. They're doing the smart thing. They're not doing that. They're trying to create an environment and a structure that plays to Miller Moss's strengths, which are the intangibles, which we see highlighted in this report and in the other comments by the coaching staff. So that's what I really love to hear this about USC, is the fact that our approach to Miller Moss is basically 180 degrees flipped than their approach to Caleb Williams, which is 100% as it should be.
Data brokers sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who may want to target you. Your full name, email, home address, health records, even your relatives. It's all out there. That's why we use Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows us which data brokers are selling our information and automatically submits opt-out requests for us.
Cleaning up our information not only reduces the amount of that stupid spam we all get, but it also protects us from hackers who could use this information to help them access our social media accounts, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also does much more to protect us and our families from online threats. We also get features like antivirus protection, VPNs, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without having to download several different apps. That's really key. One location, get all this great stuff. It's really easy to set up. And the best of all, we get everything at one affordable price.
You may already have one or two of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. Aura is always on doing the hard work of keeping us safe so you can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. We value our privacy and we also value yours. So go to aura.com/SMI college to start your 2-week free trial. Again, linked in the description below. Go to aura.com/SMI college to start your 2-week free trial today.